Hello, in this video I am going to explain how to answer the questions in the Edexcel GCSE Maths Paper 3 from November 2021, the Foundation tier. The purpose of this video is for your learning and understanding, not just the answers. There are of course other videos out there. Write 45% as a decimal. That means 45 divided by 100. 100 has 2 zeros, so we need to place a decimal point here at the end and then move it backwards twice. The decimal point will be just before the 4. So for 1 mark, our answer is 0.45. And that is all we need to write for 1 mark. Write down 2 factors of 35. Factors of 35 are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. We can write a combination of any 2 of them for the 1 mark. What is the time 2 hours 40 minutes after 8:05 a.m.? I am going to use a number line method. We have 8:05. If we add on 2 hours, that takes us to 10:05. If we then add on 40 minutes, that takes us to 10:45. For 1 mark, all we need to write is 10:45 a.m. Work out 1/6 of 66. To do this, we need to do 66 divided by 6. And for 1 mark, all we need to write is 11. AB is a straight line. Mark with a cross the midpoint of AB. We need to find the middle of AB and put a cross. That would get us 1 mark. Simplify A multiplied by B multiplied by 4. For 1 mark, we just need to write 4AB, or we can write 4BA. Either answer would get us 1 mark. Simplify 4x, add 3, subtract x, add 5. I am going to underline 4x, which means I must underline the negative x. Then I am going to circle add 3, which means I must circle add 5. 4x subtract x is 3x, and that is my first mark. A positive 3 add 5 is positive 8, and that is my second mark. There are 3 cards in bag A and 2 cards in bag B. There is a letter on each card. James takes a card from bag A and then a card from bag B. List all the possible outcomes. Always try and do these questions logically. Start with E from bag A. From bag B we could have E and then J, or we could have E and then K. Now we can move on to F from bag A, and that could match up with J, or we can have F and then K. Lastly, we could have G from bag A matching up with J from bag B, or we can have G and then K. If we have all 6 of them, we would get 2 marks. If we have 4 or 5 correct, we would get 1 mark. On Monday, Sandy pays for 2 plane tickets, 7 nights in a hotel, and 2 theme park tickets. show that Sandy pays more than $2,500 on Monday. Sandy buys 2 plane tickets, so we need to do 600 multiplied by 2. We get 1,200. There are 7 nights in the hotel, so 120 multiplied by 7. We get 840. There are 2 theme park tickets, so 250 multiplied by 2, and that is 500. Now we have 1 mark. Next, we need to add all of this up. We get 2,540. That is our second mark. Finally, we need to say 2,540 is more than 2,500, and that is our final mark. Vadim has 56 clocks. The clocks are only red, only blue, or only black. 32 of the clocks are plastic. 5 of the 14 blue clocks are plastic. 8 of the 12 red clocks are not plastic. Use this information to complete the two-way table. Starting from the top, we know that there are 56 in total. 32 of the clocks are plastic. That means there are a total of 32 plastic clocks. 5 of the 14 blue clocks are plastic. That means there are a total of 14 blue clocks, and 5 of them are plastic. 8 of the 12 red clocks are not plastic. That means there are 12 red ones in total, and 8 of them are not plastic. For having all of these numbers in the correct places, we now have 1 mark. To work out this value over here, we need to do 12 subtract 8, which is 4. To work out this value over here, we need to do 14 subtract 5, which is 9. And to work out this value over here, we need to do 56 subtract 32, which is 24. For having all of these numbers in the correct places, we now have a second mark. To work out this value, we need to do 56 subtract 12 subtract 14. We get 30. To get this value, we need to do 24 subtract 8 subtract 9. We get 7. Finally, to work out this value, we need to do 30 subtract 7, and that is 23. And now we have 3 marks. Karina has £300 to spend on books. Each book costs £4.85. Work out the greatest number of books Karina can buy. We need to do £300 divided by £4.85. For writing this, we get 1 mark. We end up with 61.85 something something something, and now we have a second mark. We do not have enough money for 62 books, so we cannot round up. That means the greatest number of books is 61 books, and that is our third mark. Write 196 minutes in hours and minutes. Step 1, we need to work out the number of hours. We have hours and we have minutes. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. 2 hours is equal to 120 minutes. 3 hours is equal to 180 minutes. Any more hours and we would go beyond 196 minutes. That means the number of hours must be 3 hours. Now we have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to work out how many minutes there are to go from 180 minutes to 196 minutes. We need to do 196 subtract 180. We get 16. So our final answer is 3 hours and 16 minutes. And that is our second mark. A train travels X miles in 2 hours. Write down an expression in terms of X for the average speed of the train. For speed, we need distance and time. We know that the train travels X miles in 2 hours. Speed will be miles per hour, so we want the time to be 1. To go from 2 to 1, we need to divide by 2. That means we must do the same over here. X divided by 2 is just X over 2. So the speed is X over 2 miles per hour. And that is all we need to write for 1 mark. The diagram shows 2 places on a map. What is the actual distance in kilometers from Shelton to Trilby? Join up the 2 points with a ruler. Then with your ruler measure that distance. I get 2.5 centimeters. Now, using the scale given to us, we can convert that into the real life distance. I am going to use the headings map and real. On the map, 1 centimeter represents 20 kilometers. We have measured on the map 2.5 centimeters. If we look at the values, to go from 1 to 20, we need to multiply by 20. Do the same over here. And now we have 1 mark. We end up with 50 kilometers, and that is our second mark. On a scale drawing, the scale is given as 1 to 1,200. How many meters does 5 centimeters represent on this drawing? Step 1, I am going to use the headings map and real. 1 centimeter on the map will represent 1,200 centimeters in real life. We need to work out how much 5 centimeters represents in real life. To go from 1 to 5, we need to multiply by 5. Therefore, we must do the same on this side, and we get 6,000 centimeters. And now we have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to convert the centimeters into meters. So we have centimeters and meters. We know 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. We are converting 6,000 centimeters. To go from 100 to 1, we need to divide by 100. So do the same over here. We end up with 60. So for our second mark, we need to write 60 meters. In the northern hemisphere, the ratio of the area of land to the area of water is 2 to 3. Work out what percentage of the area of the northern hemisphere is land. I am going to use the headings land, water, and total. We know the ratio is 2 to 3. Total parts here is 5. Because we are converting to a percentage, our total will be 100. Remember, percentage is always out of 100. To go from 5 to 100, we need to multiply by 20. Do that to all the parts. Now we have 1 mark. 2 multiplied by 20 is 40. 3 multiplied by 20 is 60. We just need to worry about the land, so for our final answer we will write 40%, and that is our second mark. 20% of the area of the southern hemisphere is land. Work out the ratio of the area of land to the area of water in the southern hemisphere. Again, I am going to use the headings land, water, and total. We know that the percentage of land is 20. We know that the total in a percentage is 100. To work out what the percentage of water would be, we need to do 100 subtract 20, and we get 80. For writing this, we have a mark. For writing 20 to 80, we now have a second mark. A stadium cost £600 million. 13/15 of this cost was for the building. The rest of the cost was for the land. Work out the cost of the land. Step 1, we need to work out 13/15 of 600 million. We need to do 600 million divided by 15 for 1/15 and then multiply that by 13 for 13/15. We now have 1 mark for writing this out. We end up with 520 million. Step 2, it does say that the rest of the cost was for the land, so we need to do 600 million subtract 520 million. And now we have a second mark. This gives us 80 million. That means for the third mark we need to say that the cost of the land was £80 million. Jenna measures all the angles around a point. Her results are 23 degrees, 145 degrees, 23 degrees and 69 degrees. Explain why these results cannot be true. First, we need to add them up. 23 add 145, add 23, add 69. We get 260. And now we can say it should be 360. And now we have 1 mark. Here is a diagram showing triangle ABC and triangle ADE. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle ABC onto triangle ADE. We can see that triangle ABC has gone bigger and become ADE. That means it's an enlargement. To work out the scale factor, if we focus on this base, it is only 1 square. It has gone from 1 square to 4. 1 multiplied by 4 is 4. That means the scale factor equals 4. For having all of this written out, we now have 1 mark. We also need the center of enlargement. To do this, we need to join up corresponding corners and see where those rays intersect. Here we have joined up all of the base corners, and now we have joined up all of the height corners. We can see that the center of enlargement is over here. So we now need to write center equals 1, 1. Now for having all of this, we have 2 marks. Expand y bracket y add 5. We need to multiply y on the outside by everything on the inside. y multiplied by y is y squared. Add y multiplied by 5, which is 5y. And we need to have all of this for 1 mark. Factorize 4a subtract 6. I like to use the upside down bus stop method. We need to think of a common factor of 4a and negative 6. We can use 2. 4a divided by 2 is 2a. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. The only common factor of 2a and negative 3 is 1, so now we can stop with the upside down bus stop. The inside of the bracket is 2a subtract 3. The outside is the product of everything on the left. In this case, it's just 2. So for 1 mark, we need to have this as our final answer. Solve the following. First, we need to expand the bracket. So we need to do 2 multiplied by 5x and 2 multiplied by negative 4. We end up with 10x subtract 8 equals 21. And now we have our first mark. Then we can use the flowchart method. We have x, it's been multiplied by 10, and then we subtract 8, and we get 21. To go backwards, we need to do the inverse. We need to add 8 first, and then divide by 10. For writing this out, we have our second mark. If we type this into a calculator, we need to do 21 add 8, press equals, and you should get 29. 29 divided by 10 is 2.9. So for the final mark, we need to say x is equal to 2.9. Simplify the following. I am going to rewrite this as 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by e squared multiplied by e to the 1 multiplied by f to the 1 multiplied by f cubed. Now I can rewrite this as 20 multiplied by e cubed, because 2 add 1 is 3, and then multiplied by f to the power of 4, because 1 add 3 is 4. Now, to make it even more simplified, I'm going to write it as 20 e to the 3 f to the 4. For having any two of these terms correct, we get 1 mark. For having all of it correct, we get 2 marks. Change 1 square meter into square centimeters. First, I'm going to start with just meters and just centimeters. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. But we are converting square meters into square centimeters, so we need to square everything. 1 squared is 1, 100 squared is 10,000. So for 1 mark, the answer is 10,000 square centimeters. This diagram shows 2 squares. Work out the area of the square shown shaded in the diagram. To work out the area of the shaded square, we first need to know what this length is. If we look at this as one triangle, we are looking at a right angle triangle. And we are working with 3 lengths, that means we can use Pythagoras. So step 1, x squared is equal to 5 squared add 3 squared. And now we have 1 mark. That means x squared must equal 34. X is then the square root of 34. As this is not my final answer, I am going to leave it as square root 34. And now I have my second mark. Step 2, to work out the area, we need to do x multiplied by x, which is x squared. Notice we already have that from over here. That means our area is 34. We need to give the units for this question, and it's square centimetres. We get a third mark for writing 34 and a fourth mark for writing square centimetres. Here are the heights in centimetres of 15 plants. Draw a stem and leaf diagram for these heights. First, I'm going to draw a draft version. 1, 2 and 3 are the stems. For 15, I will write 5. 20, I will write 0. For 25, I'm going to write 5. For 33, I have 3. For 17, I have 7. For 22, I have 2. For 25, I have 5. For 18, I have 8. For 22, I have 2. For 19, I have 9. For 32, I have 2. For 35, I have 5. For 24, I have 4. For 28, I have 8. And for 19, I have 9. Because all of my digits are lined up and I have used all the values, I now have 1 mark. To get the second mark, we must write this in order. So now I'm going to do 1, 2 and 3 again, but this time write them in order. The first one is already in order. 0, 2, 2. Always make sure the first digit, the second digit, the third digit and so on are all lined up. And the last one will be 2, 3, 5. Now we have 2 marks. For the third mark, we must have a key. We can use any value from this stem and leaf diagram. I'm just going to use the first one. 1/5 represents 15 centimetres. So now we have our third mark. The scatter graph shows information about the volume of traffic and the carbon monoxide level at a point on a road each day for 22 days. One point is an outlier. Part A. Write down the coordinates of this point. The outlier is this one over here. It is far away from the general trend of this graph. The coordinates are 100, 18, and that is all we need to write for 1 mark in Part A. The question then says, for another day, 370 cars pass the point on the road. Part B. Estimate the carbon monoxide level for this day. The reason it's an estimate is because we first need to draw a line of best fit. Everyone's line of best fit will look slightly different. You must make sure there's an even number of crosses on either side. If you draw a line of best fit, you will get 1 mark for Part B. Now we need to find 370 on the x-axis, and that is over here. Draw a line upwards until you reach the line of best fit, and then go across to read the carbon monoxide level, and that is 14. And now we have a second mark for Part B. Alfie says, because there is an outlier, there is no correlation. Is Alfie correct? You must give a reason for your answer. We will say no, as there is still a positive correlation. And now we have 1 mark. Natalie makes potato cakes in a restaurant. She mixes potato, cheese and onion so that weight of potato to weight of cheese to weight of onion is 9 to 2 to 1. Natalie needs to make 6,000 grams of potato cakes. Cheese costs £2.25 for 175 grams. Work out the cost of the cheese needed to make 6,000 grams of potato cakes. Step 1. We need to work out the weight of cheese needed. Use the ratio given. Also include total. The ratio is 9 to 2 to 1. The total parts here is 12. The total weight of the potato cakes is 6,000. To go from 12 to 6,000, we need to multiply by 500. Do that to all the parts. We now have 1 mark. We need 4,500 grams of potato, 1,000 grams of cheese, and 500 grams of onions. We are only going to focus on the cheese. Step 2, we need to work out the cost. We have cost and we have grams. We know that it costs £2.25 for 175 grams. Natalie needs to work out the cost for 1,000 grams. We need to go from 175 to 1,000. To work that out, we need to do 1,000 divided by 175. The calculator leaves it as a fraction, and so should you. And now we have a second mark. Now we can write 175 multiplied by 40 over 7, and we can do the same on the other side. For writing this, we now have a third mark. We end up with 12.857 and so on. Remember, money must be rounded to 2 decimal places, so our final answer is £12.86, and that is our fourth mark. Write 4.5 times 10 to the 5 as an ordinary number. I am going to write this as 4.5 and then a bunch of zeros. If it says 10 to the power of 5, we need to move the decimal point 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means the answer is 450,000. And we just need to write the answer for 1 mark. Write 0.007 in standard form. As this number is less than 1, we can use our counting zero method. We have 1, 2, 3 zeros. That means the answer is 7 times 10 to the negative 3. It must be negative as it is a very small number. We just need to write the answer for 1 mark. Work out the following. Give your answer in standard form. To type this into our calculators, we need to use brackets, 4.2, and then the standard form button, which looks something like this, and then 3. Close the bracket, then press add, and then open a bracket, 5.3 as normal, and then the standard form button, and then 2, and then close the bracket. Your standard form button may look slightly different. Make sure you know how to use your calculator. The answer is 4,730. For writing this, we get 1 mark. We must write it in standard form. Remember, standard form numbers always have 1 digit before the decimal point. So we know it must be 4.73 times 10 to the power of something. Our decimal point is at the end. To make it go between 4 and 7, we need to move it 1, 2, 3 spaces. That means the power must be 3. And now we have a second mark. A water tank is empty. Anil needs to fill the tank with 2,400 litres of water. Company A supplies water at a rate of 8 litres in 1 minute 40 seconds. Company B supplies water at a rate of 2.2 gallons per minute. 1 gallon is equal to 4.54 litres. Company A would take more time to fill the tank than Company B. How much more time? Give your answer in minutes, correct to the nearest minute. I am going to start with Company A. We have litres and we have time. The rate is 8 litres in 1 minute 40 seconds. I am going to convert the time into seconds. So we have 60 seconds, add 40 seconds, which is 100 seconds. That means the rate is 8 litres in 100 seconds. Anil needs 2,400 litres. If we go down, we need to multiply by 300. Do the same on this side. That means the time is 30,000 seconds. However, we need the time in minutes. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. We are converting 30,000 seconds. To go from 60 to 1, we need to divide by 60. Do the same over here. We get 500. That means it takes Company A 500 minutes. And that is our first mark. Now moving on to Company B. The rate is 2.2 gallons per minute. We need it to be in litres. So we have gallons and litres. 1 gallon is equal to 4.54 litres. We are converting 2.2 gallons. If we go down, we need to multiply by 2.2. Do the same on this side. We get 9.988. For now converting this to litres, we have a second mark. Now for Company B, we can have litres and time. The rate is now 9.988 litres per minute, so 1 minute. Remember, we need 2,400 litres. If we go across, we need to divide by 9.988 to get 1. We must do the same over here. The calculator gives a long answer. I am going to round it and say 240.29. That means it takes Company B 240.29 minutes. That is our third mark. Now we can work out the difference. We need to do 500 subtract 240.29. We get 259.71. However, the question says to the nearest minute, which is the nearest whole number. That 7 means round up. So our answer is 260 minutes. And that is our fourth mark. The first 4 terms of a Fibonacci sequence are A, 2A, 3A, and 5A. the sum of the first 5 terms of this sequence is 228. Work out the value of a. To work out the 5th term, we need to add these up, because in a Fibonacci sequence you always add the 2 previous terms. In this case it's 8a. Now we have 1 mark. The sum of the first 5 terms is then a, add 2a, add 3a, add 5a, add 8a. We are told this equals 228. This is our second mark. If we collect all the like terms, we have 19a equals 228. This is 19 multiplied by a. The inverse is then to divide by 19. We get a is equal to 12, and that is our third mark. In a bag, there are only red counters, blue counters, green counters, and pink counters. A counter is going to be taken at random from the bag. A table shows the probabilities of taking a red counter or a blue counter. The probability of taking a green counter is 0.2 more than the probability of taking a pink counter. Complete the table. If we say the probability for pink is x, green will be 0.2 more than that, so x add 0.2. Now we can create an equation. We have 0.05, add 0.15, add x, add 0.2, add x equals 1. Remember, probabilities must add up to 1. And now we have 1 mark. Collect the like terms and we have 2x add 0.4 equals 1. To solve this, we can use the flowchart method. Multiply by 2 and then add 0.4 and we get 1. To go backwards, do the inverse. Subtract 0.4, which is 0.6, and divide that by 2, which is 0.3. Now, instead of x, we can say that it is 0.3. And instead of x plus 0.2, we can say that's 0.5. For having both of them, we get a second mark. There are 18 blue counters in the bag. Work out the total number of counters in the bag. I am going to use the headings probability and counters. We know that the probability for blue is 0.15 and the counters is 18. We want the probability to be 1 because we want the total. Remember, probabilities must add up to 1. To go from 0.15 to 1, we can divide it by itself. Anything divided by itself is 1. We must do the same on the other side. And now we have 1 mark. The answer is then 120, and that is our second mark. The diagram shows a sector OPQR of a circle, center O and radius 8 centimeters. OPR is a triangle. Work out the area of the shaded segment PQR. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. For step 1, I am going to work out the sector. For the sector, we need to do pi multiplied by r squared divided by 4, as we only have a quarter of a circle. So we need to do pi multiplied by 8 squared divided by 4. we end up with 16 pi. I am going to leave my answer like this as it is not my final answer. Now we have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to work out the area of the triangle. For that, we need to do base multiplied by height divided by 2. In this case, it's 8 multiplied by 8 divided by 2, and that is 32. And now we have a second mark. For step 3, we can work out the area of the segment. We need to do the sector, 16 pi, subtract the triangle, and this gets us our third mark. The answer is 18.265, and it goes on, but the question does say to round to 3 significant figures, so we have to draw a wall after the 2. Underline that 6, and as that 6 is more than 5, our answer is then 18.3 square centimeters, and that is our fourth mark. Sketch the graph of y equals 1 over x. This is a reciprocal graph. In the positive quadrant, it will look like this. The curve should not touch the x-axis or the y-axis, but the curve should be getting closer and closer to both axes. If we have this drawn, we would get 1 mark. We also need to draw it for the negative quadrant. Again, it should get closer and closer to the coordinate axes, but never touch the coordinate axes. We must have both parts correct for 2 marks. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day.